You're going to take the end of the rope, we're going to bring it over our hand like this. We're going to loop it around our hand, go off of your ring finger, back around the back of your hand, come over your hand like that. So you've got this X. Pull as much of the loop as you want, bring it over your hand, and then pull it back through. This is the Alpine butterfly loop. You can tighten this up to make it look pretty, all that kind of good stuff, but this knot is very good for putting a loop in the middle of a line. So let's say you're making a line that you want to hang off the back of the boat where divers or somebody in the water can hold on to this loop, or you want to tie something to this, like if you want to run this along your boat and put fenders on it or something like that. This is a very good loop to put in the middle of a line that can be held on to like that. A lot of dock lines have a loop in it in the end like this, so you tie this to your cleat and it's spliced in like that, good to go. But if it's not braided or this is broken and you just have a regular line, then what you're going to do is you're going to take the end of your line and you're going to bring it down like this. So you're right here. You're going to take the line from under here and flip it over so it crosses right here. We're going to take the end of our line, bring it under and through our loop, bring it under and around the top portion there, and then put it back through our loop. I like to just kind of hold the two together that you just did, and you can pull this tight. As soon as you pull that tight, now you have a solid loop. This is not going to move. This is not going to move. If you have too big of a thing here, you can just tie a hitch like this in it. But if your end is not long enough, it'll just slip out. And that is how you get this kind of a loop and the end of a line. This is a very versatile knot that you can tie on anything to make a loop in another line. Another way of putting a loop on the end is to do a perfection loop, but it's more for fishing. You don't really use it with a line like this, more for like monofilament and tying on your leaders. But you're going to bring your line in like this, come over, and bring it around to there, okay? We're going to come under the line and bring it around, kind of make it a smaller loop like this. Bring this over and around to here, and then just cross it over. Once it's crossed over, we're going to come back under this one, keeping our loop there, and then we're going to come under here and over both of the lines. Then we can take our piece here and go through our loop and then just tighten that up. And that is got nothing there, it's not going to slip. That is a perfection loop, and you can again with your end tie a half hitch on there to get rid of that line, but that's how you put a loop on the end of a line. Again, this is more for fishing, not really that you would use for making a dock line or any other kind of line on your boat. But it's a good knot to know. Those were all loop knots. The next type of knot is going to be our hitch knots, which are basically used to tie to objects, whether that be pilings or whatever. But the problem with hitches, depending on which hitch you use, they all slip, and they are not very useful if you do them improperly and use the wrong one at the wrong time. This one's probably my least favorite, but a lot of people like it for tying fenders and stuff like that. It's called the draw hitch or a highwayman's knot. You kind of put a loop like this over there, and then you bring your line under here, back under the other side, and bring it up over your little loop, and then you can put a loop like that in here and then tighten this up by pulling this and then pulling this one. So that tightens this to where it won't come out, but you can pull this and it releases. Again, depending on the kind of line that you have, like this line right here, that's why I don't really like this, because if you don't get it just right, then it binds up basically. So when you go like this and pull it through, I like to pull this edge right here, and then you can pull down on this one, and that cinches it up. So this, if you've got your fender on this line, it's not going to pull off, but being this braided type line, sometimes it will bind up, and when you pull it to release it, it doesn't release as easy. So I mean, Yeah, it's a good knot, you know. Again, to do it, just fold it over like that on whatever you're doing. Bring a line over, around it, and then just make your loop here and pull it through. Pulling up on this one until you're happy with it, and then pull down on that one. And it'll get tight, but again, sometimes it'll bind with these if you leave it for a long time. Now, if you like that kind of knot though, a step above that is going to be the tumble hitch, which is going to be a little bit more permanent. You're going to kind of make your line like this and go over it. And you're going to take this end, kind of make a U like that, and bring this up through here to make that little loop. We're going to bring this end under our line here, back over it, and with this loop like that, you're going to bring it under this line and tighten this thing up like this. So when you pull this one, this thing's going to tighten up. Same thing, so it's just as tight, but when you pull this out, it all falls apart, which is going to be a way more permanent than the Highwayman's or the draw hitch. This one's a little bit stronger, kind of a little bit more to do about it though. You kind of got it like this, come under, over, and bring your loop up like that, and then just tighten it up. It's super tight, it's not gonna come out, but then when you pull this, it all comes apart. So I think the tumble hitch is way better.
Then come around the cleat from the side where the line is coming from. Then we can go around the cleat to the other side before coming across the cleat and around it once. Then on the opposite side, we will flip the line over so that the lines are not crossed over each other. Keeping them from crossing makes them easy to take off when it comes time to leave.
Be careful about how you use a clove hitch because they can slip. A lot of people like them for setting up fenders on the boat, but you're just going to take your line, bring it over the rope like this, or not rope, but over the bar, bring it around your bar, up over, under the bar, and then back through. So you kind of got like this, boom, that's it. That's your clove hitch, but again, these can slip. So depending on the line that you're using, these can slip. But a lot of people like them because you can make them adjustable. So let's say you wanted to bring more of your fender up, you just bring more and then tighten it. Or if you want to bring the fender down, like if your fender was here and you want to bring it down, you just loosen this up, pull it to here, and then pull down on this side, boom. And then it does tighten up, but again, this can slip, so you could either run it over and do another half hitch here. So that's going to give it some more security. You could even do one on the bar, so come under the bar and up around it. That'll kind of give you some more security that's going to not slip, but it makes it easy to take apart and move your fenders. Again, you're going to go over your bar, around it, come back over your line, under your bar, and then back under through here. So these two kind of go through like this. And that makes your clove hitch. The next one's going to be if we're trying to tie to, say, a piling or something like that, and you don't have a cleat, you can easily tie to it. We're going to take our line, we're going to come around our piling, which is non-flammable, and we're going to come back around it a second time, come over our line, under it, and then we're going to come up over our line again, under it, and back through. And that right there is a round turn with 2 half hitches. And that right there, once you cinch it up, you know, on your piling, that's not going to release. Your boat is going to be secured to your piling. Do that one more time. This is the round turn with 2 half hitches, again for tying your boat to a piling. Come around the piling, come around the piling again, come over the rope, around, and then under the line, over where we came through the piling, back under the line, and then through here to tighten that thing up to give us a round turn with 2 half hitches. Now, another way of tying to the piling though, you can also do it, it's a little bit less permanent, or if you want to make it real permanent, you just do a bunch of round turns. So you go through it like this, now come back around, and when you come around, go over and under. So when you come around, like this is your first time around the piling, you're coming over your line. Then you go around the piling again, but opposed to doing anything here, you're going to go over the line, back under it, and you're going to tighten that one up, and you're going to come back around, over, under, back around, over, under, and you could just do that 3 or 4 times, and that you can just do that and then leave these lines on your piling, so it makes a nice, neat, tight thing like that. They all look like this once you get, say, 5 or 6 of them in there, and you can either tie a half hitch around the line or just leave it like this, and this thing is going to tighten up once it spins around. But if you do 5 or 6 of those, it'll be permanent. If you only do 2 or 3, this thing can slip and undo itself, so that's just something to think about. Now this one's pretty important because this is the anchor hitch or mooring hitch or whatever they call it. I usually just call it an anchor hitch. So this is the shackle that goes to your anchor chain that goes to your anchor. Now picture this as being that. You send this through, depending on, now this is obviously going to depend on how big of a shackle you have. So like this shackle here is going to be kind of tight to do it on, but you can do it. So, you know, just so you can see what exactly we're doing, picture this bar being this shackle. We're going to go under the bar, around it, one more time, around it. We're going to tighten this up to about there. Now, when you're at this point right here, we're going to go under our rope and up through this right here, and you can tighten this down. Then just throw yourself a half hitch right there, and that's pretty much it. That's your anchor hitch. I'd like to throw another one on there, so you got 2 of those, but that is going to be an anchor hitch, and that thing is not going to come apart from your shackle that goes to your anchor chain, which goes to your anchor. Very, very easy hitch, very nice to do. You could even take it apart. Very simple. One more time, that's under our shackle. Go around it, and then keeping this open, I'm going to go under the line and then back through these 2. So when you tighten this thing up, you've got this here, and you can go under the line and back around it. Throw another one on there just for good measure. That is your anchor hitch. All right, that is enough of the hitches. Let's talk about a stopper knot. Let's say you want to run this line through this shackle, right? But you want to put a knot on the end of the line so that way this doesn't come out. And you like it to look decently pretty. Well, we can do an Ashley stopper knot. You just pretty much make a loop like this with your line. We're going to bring this up. Let me give me some more space here. Have that like that. Roll this over. Whenever you roll this over, we can pick this up and send this one over through it. So that way you're kind of like this. And you want to bring this line down. That way you've got this loop over here. You can pull this up like that and then just tighten this thing up, which depending on how you tighten it up will depend on how pretty the thing looks, because I just tightened it up prematurely on the wrong side. There you go. Tighten it up, and that is an Ashley stopper knot, which this thing is not going to be able to come off of that. Which that one's probably the more complicated type of stopper knot, but it's a really good one to know. Again, that was just taking your line, open it up like this, making this, flipping it over. That's over. You can bring this straight like that if you want. That way we've kind of got this going from here. Flip it over, pick this up and send this one through. Kind of tighten that up like that. Pull this one in. You're going to come under and through, and then you can tighten these up to make the Ashley stopper knot. But that one's probably the most difficult one. I mean, it makes a good big knot, but a figure eight's going to probably be way easier, where you just take your line, come over the top of it, go under it, and then bring it through. That's it. Figure eight. Boom. Stopper knot. Depending on how big your shackle is, it might be able to pull through. But the figure eight's way easier, and you can even double it down if you wanted to. Again, you're just going to take your line, come around like this, over, under, and then back through. Figure eight. You could double it up, like I was saying. You can go over, under, and back through. And if you double it up, much bigger knot on the end of it. Probably not as pretty as the Ashley, but still a good stopper knot. One more stopper knot is going to be the double-handed stopper knot, which is going to be good because it doubles into our next subject of tying two lines together. But we're going to take our line and we're just going to make a loop like this, come over the top of it, and then we just want to wrap the line twice. And as soon as you wrap the line twice, you cinch it up, and that's it. That is a double overhand stopper knot. We're going to basically use the same knot, only to tie another one together. So if we've got another line here that we want to tie together, we're going to do one of these numbers. You're going to put them both side by side like this and bring this over. This is called a double fisherman's knot, and you've got these two like this. We're going to rotate this one over to the inside here. We're going to rotate this one over to above that one. And then we're going to take this line, go under, and bring it over, over again, and under. Now you're going to have these two loops, right like this. You're just going to take the line, pass it back through, and I like to just kind of hold it like that. And then you're going to tighten this down, so that way you can pull on this one. You know, obviously you can do it to where you don't have this much left. But if you tighten that up, that one's the first one. Get rid of your excess here. And you're going to do the same thing with this one, only reverse. So we're going to take it under here and back over. Under again, giving us that one. And we're going to send it through, tightening that up like that. You can pull it together, pull the two together, and now you have a double fisherman knot. Two lines that are together that they're going to tighten each other as you put tension on it. Getting these things to be undone once you've put a bunch of load on this, probably not going to be the easiest thing to do. If you were, say, trying to tow a boat or something like that, then this thing is going to get so tight that it's going to be very difficult for you to get it undone. We'll do that one more time just for showmanship. So you're going to take this like that. You're going to take this one right next to it, above it. So both of them loop around, loop around. This one comes to the inside. This one goes to the top. Once you get this one to the top, you're going to come under it, around, get your loop. Then you go over and under to where you've got a second loop. And then you're going to pass it through the two loops. You can tighten this thing up like this. There's your double. Get rid of your extra right there. Then the same thing, only it's going to be reverse. So you're going to go over, under, bring it around. So here's your first loop. Going to go over and under. So here's your second loop. So two loops together, and you're going to pass this one through the two loops and tighten it up. Boom. Pull the two together, and that is your double fisherman's or double-handed fisherman's, or I think they call it a double fisherman's bend. Maybe that's what it is. Double fisherman's bend, double fisherman's knot, double overhand knot. Any of those, I guess, is what this is called. Then the next most popular way to tie two lines together is going to be the square knot. You're going to take two lines next to each other, cross them like this, you know, the left hand over the right. You're going to take the left-handed and bring it over and under. So that way it's just like that. And then you're going to do it one more time. So you're going to take it over the left hand. This one's always going to go over and bring it back under and then tighten them together. And that is a square knot. That one's probably the most easy one that everybody knows. 2 lines together. The one that's in your right hand over, and you bring it under, and then you use the same line, you go over and bring it under. Square knot. Just remember your right hand or left, whichever way you do it, the same hand goes over and over. Over, under, over, under. Same hand, over, under, over, under. Another way to tie 2 lines together is using an Ashley bend. You just take one line going like this, another line coming in like this. So you're taking these 2 together, move this up. We're going to take this one over this one, but yet we're going to go under it. So you went over and under it. Like this. Basically you got that line there. Take your coming line over it and then under it. So that way they're basically like that. Then circle here, go over this line, keep this open, circle here, go over that one, and then you can bring this under and through the circle, under and through the circle. So that way you kind of got like this pretzel here. Grab this one, you can tighten these 2 together. It works a lot better if you're using lines of the similar size, but if you're not, it's going to look like this. That's an Ashley bend, I think they call it. 2 overhand knots, and that line is going to be completely together. Now, one more bonus knot that we want to talk about is really not for tying lines together, more for tying 2 pieces of fishing line together, and that's going to be a blood knot. Now the blood knot, so you're going to have this line coming in like this, right? This one comes over, it goes under and comes around. You're leaving this little loop right here. This comes over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, and then comes out through there. Okay. Then this one, same thing, goes over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over again, and then back through. That's right. So these 2 are supposed to be separate. So that way when you tighten this thing up, cinch these kind of up, tighten this one, pull this one together, and cinch it up. Boom. And that is how you do a blood knot.